Welcome back to Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. We're going to play Holmes for a little bit, I guess.
Well, Watson, let's go to Dutfield's yard.
Dutfield's yard. Wouldn't that be down by the Wasp? Just around the corner, or right here.
Dutfield's yard.
Oh, this is the site of the other murder.
Your interrogation of P.C. Smith has proven to be very shrewd and of great interest. Thanks to the information I've managed to gather and that you were able to read in my notes in Baker Street, Watson, we can recreate what happened that fateful night at this location, Dutfield's Yards to be precise, the site of Liz Stride's murder.
All right, so this is the murder we're not sure is part of Jack the Ripper's murders. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, we've got a lot of stuff. All right, first of all, we start at midnight up here, and we end about 45 minutes after 1. So let's see, we've got a copper and a lady, a gentleman, I don't know what the hell that is, and somebody running. Let's start here at midnight. The club meeting ends, and we'll take these three guys and pop them here at midnight.
Midnight, the Socialist Club meeting ends. The members, mainly Jewish men, gradually begin to leave the club in little groups or alone.
Okay, then we've got a gentleman, and we've got, well, this is the next one in line at 12:20. The American goes out for some fresh air. No one is in the street, so this is at 12:20. So right about in here.
12:20 a.m., the American leaves the Socialists' Club for some fresh air. The street is deserted.
All right. Then this one is at 12:35. 12:30. Well, we're not sure.
12:30 to 12:35 a.m. Smith notices Liz Stride talking to the man with the package.
Okay. And then 12:40.
12:40 a.m. Eagle, the president of the club, enters the workers' club via the passageway through Dutfield's yard. He passed through Dutfield's yard. If Liz Stride had already been killed, he would have had to walk over her. The murder, therefore, had not yet happened.
Okay, now we've got Israel Schwartz. He was our witness, was he not? And that was at 12:43.
12:43 a.m. Israel Schwartz passes by Dutfield's yard and witnesses the attack on Liz Stride.
All right. 12:44.
12:44 a.m. Schwartz crosses to the other side of the road. The attacker sees him and yells, "Lipsky." The attacker must have shouted to his accomplice at the end of the road, "Lipsky," indicating at Schwartz using his head in an attempt to scare off this undesirable.
All right. And then Schwartz takes off running because this guy's chasing him.
12:45 a.m. Schwartz runs away, followed for a short distance by this man.
And then we've got 1 a.m.
1 a.m. Mr. Diemschutz wants to enter with his cart, but the pony refuses. We know that the murder took place between 12:45 and 1 a.m. Mr. Diemschutz, therefore, must have disturbed the killer. Let's place Liz Stride's murder on the timeline, Watson.
Well, it has to be after Schwartz ran, so let's do between 45 and 1.
12:45 to 1 a.m., the murder of Liz Stride. It took place in this very spot, as the traces of blood were very confined. We will come back to this point in a few moments to elaborate on what could have happened. Well, we are still missing certain information in order to finish this investigation, Watson.
All right, so we need to investigate here, I guess. Man, it's dark in here.
Watson, imagine the victim laid down there on the ground. The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards.
Okay. All right, what do we got here? Anything?
The ground is muddy.
Okay, ground is muddy. There's some blood.
The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards.
Okay, I guess we can't look at the blood. I don't see anything. I don't see any bruises. What do we have here?
Her left hand, it is closed around a bag of pastils.
I don't know what that is, a pastel.
Her right hand, it is bloody, as is her wrist.
Okay. Can we look at anything else?
Her knees and dress, they are clean.
Really? All right, well, let's see what we got here. We've got the knees and the bottom of the dress at the front are clean. The ground is dirty. Bloody right hand and wrist. And the throat was slit. All right, now let's see what we got here. Okay, the knees are clean. The ground is dirty. So the victim didn't struggle on the ground. All right. The victim was killed lying down. The victim wiped her clothes. The victim was killed upright. I would say that one. Stride had her back to the killer. Stride and her murderer were lying down. Well, we know that's not the case, or at least I don't think so. Stride and her murderer were standing at the moment of the mortal blow. I would think that because they were fighting. I mean, she was fighting for her life, so she was probably facing him. All right, now, the wound to the neck is clean, starting from the right, slightly oblique and descending. The blow was given in the middle of the neck. The blow was given with the right hand. The blow was given with the left hand. I think it's the right hand. Aha. There's only one wound and it proved to be mortal. The victim had her neck wrung. There is but one superficial wound to the neck. I'd say there's only one wound, right? The murderer struck the blow from below. The murderer struck the blow from above. The murderer struck the blow from his height. I would say from his height. Okay, the blow was given with the right hand. What choice do we have here? The murderer is strong. The murderer is weak. The murderer is a lumberjack. Where the hell does that come from? I would say he was a strong man. All right, now down here, bloody right hand to the wrist, and the neck wasn't slit, or the carotid wasn't slit. Okay, so the victim was bleeding from the nose. No, we looked at that. The victim had her hand cut. I don't think so. The victim put her hand on her throat. That's more likely. Throat was bleeding. Her right hand was bloody, but it didn't look injured. So I'd say that one. All righty, let's start at the top here. Stride's killer is taller than the victim. Stride's killer is shorter than the victim. Stride's killer is approximately the same height as the victim. I would say that one. Okay, Stride's killer is right-handed, ambidextrous, and must be left-handed. How would you tell if it was ambidextrous? I don't know about that one. Let's say right-handed. Okay, so this one is wrong up here. For some reason. We'll come back to it. The murderer is strong. Stride's killer is a weak man, is a strong man. Stride's killer is a woman. No, I would say it was a strong man. The knife blade used in Stride's murder was thin. The stride was a mezzaluna. What? The knife blade was used in Stride's murder was thick. The cut was thin. We saw that. But what's this now? Well, is he taller? No. Is he shorter? No. Well, then it's the one I checked earlier. I'm missing something here. What am I missing? I'm missing something. Okay, so it can't be this. It must be one of these that I've got wrong. Okay, we're standing at the moment of the mortal blow. The murderer struck the blow from his height. Killed upright. They didn't struggle on the ground. That's true. Okay, the wound on the neck is clean, starting from the right and slightly oblique. The blow was given from the right hand. There's but one superficial wound to the neck. Because there's two of them here that could work. There's but one superficial wound to the neck. There's one, and it proved to be mortal. That was
we
it.
have two possibilities. The first is that Liz Stride's killer and the attacker, seen by Schwartz, were one and the same man. The second is that Liz Stride meets a client. After some discussion, they head towards Dutfield's yard to do their business. As soon as they arrive, the attacker appears while his accomplice keeps watch. Schwartz's arrival dissuades the two men from lingering. They leave the area and leave Liz Stride in a tense state, but glad to have kept her client. He will be her murderer. Both hypotheses are possible, but an incongruous detail will serve to corroborate one of them. An incongruous detail that we were able to establish regarding the Hanbury Street murder. Which one would that be, Watson? Look at the victim carefully, Watson, and tell me the link between the murder of Liz Stride and those of Nichols and Chapman.
Okay, so I'm Watson now. All right, so let's see what we need to look at here that would link them. So the two other victims had something in their hand. One had a bonnet, and one had something else. And she's got something in her hand.
The bag of pastels, Holmes.
The bag of pastels. Indeed, Watson. If this woman had to defend herself against an attacker, why would she have held onto this bag in her hand? It didn't fall because this woman's hand tensed at the moment when she fell to the ground. Therefore, Watson, we know the killer distracted his victim's attention by making them take something out of their pockets. Why didn't he slit her throat like the others? He must have feared a struggle with this strong-willed woman. Why didn't he eviscerate her? Because Louis Diemschutz arrived.
Do you think the Whitechapel killer is behind this murder, Holmes?
Yes, and now this murder has been linked to its rightful perpetrator, it will take on deeper meaning when we have examined the facts from that night. Let's go to Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddowes was killed. And make haste, Watson, as we have another murder to commit in 40 minutes.
What? We're going to commit a murder?
Here we are, Watson, Mitre Square. It took us a mere 20 minutes to get here. If the killer left Dutfield's yard around 1 o'clock, as we assume, he would have arrived here at around 1:20 a.m. We know that Catherine Eddowes' body was discovered at 1:44 a.m. Catherine was released from prison around 1 o'clock, but we have no information as to what she could have been doing until her death. This place has 3 possible ways out. Let's see where they lead. As a precaution, I brought an old map of the area with me. It will help us get our bearings.
Let's hurry, Holmes. This neighborhood makes me ill at ease.
All right, there's our map. So, Imperial Club, the synagogue, there's an X is at the murder site, St. James Passage, Mitre Square, and then Mitre Street. There's a church passage up this way. Okay. And we are Sherlock. All right. What are we looking for? All right, so we're trying to find out which way's out of here. Man, it's dark. Oh, there's a lantern, and it's dark. That's a coincidence. Oh, and we happen to have matches. Isn't that sweet?
Take the lantern, Watson.
He gets the... What's that? Ooh. Okay. Stay close so I can see. All right, well, let's walk this way. That's a... What's that? A stone... What?
Church Passage. It must be opposite the Imperial Club at 16 to 17 Duke Street. Let's go to the end of this lane, Watson.
Come on, Watson, keep up. I can't see. Let's see if there's anything down here.
Nothing of interest here.
Okay. Well, I had to look. Hey, we know this guy.
Hello, you must be Abraham Solomonovich, am I right?
Yes, that's me. But I know you. You brought a lad to my place to take care of a cat, and I loaned you my mask.
That's me. May I present?
Dr. Watson, of course. Delighted. And you? I have known for a few days that you are a detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes. Is that so?
You don't miss a thing, do you? It was the children who gave me away, am I right?
They didn't want to, but I gained their confidence by offering them a small comb and half a cake.
They made a good deal out of it, so I don't blame them. However, I must request, as a personal favor, that you do not reveal my identity.
You have my word. Curiosity is just killing me, as you may have guessed. Would it be breaking an oath to confide in me the nature of the investigation that you are leading?
Can you tell us about the church passage?
Does this spot where we are now in Mitre Square mean anything to you?
A demon lives in this city, Mr. Holmes. These unmentionable acts degrade the human race and put the Jewish community in terrible danger.
Lots of rumors are circulating, but they are but rumors. I see you're leaving the Imperial Club. It's a stone's throw away from Mitre Square, and the 2 recent murders were most probably discussed in there. Do you know if anyone from the club saw or heard anything that night?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, 3 members of our club saw a woman talking to a man at the very spot where we are standing, a few minutes before the body was found at the end of this passage.
Fantastic, Holmes.
Calm yourself, Watson. There is nothing at the moment to suggest it was the victim. Can we meet these members?
I am afraid that won't be possible. As soon as the police heard the evidence of these men, they were sworn to silence.
I understand.
But you are working for the good, and I must tell you what I know. One of the 3 men, my friend Joseph, left that night with 2 other members of the Imperial Club, Harry and another Joseph. It was around 1:35 a.m., perhaps a bit earlier. When Joseph, not my friend, but the other, the Aldgate butcher, exited, he saw a man and a woman in discussion at this very spot where we are.
These men must have been about 16 feet away from the couple.
That's about right. So Joseph, the butcher, said to the other 2, while pointing at the couple, "Look, I don't like going home alone when I see this kind of people here." My friend Joseph looked at them without noticing anything strange and didn't understand what he meant. They had the look of 2 rather unkempt people, but no more than that.
Anything else?
After the murder, did these 3 men tell the police what they had seen?
Not quite. Harry stated that he hadn't seen the couple. As for Joseph, the butcher, even though he was the one who commented on them and pointed them out, said that he couldn't remember anything except that the man was about 3 inches taller than the woman, who was 5 feet tall, no more. My friend Joseph, on the other hand, did his best to cooperate with the police.
Interesting.
And what did your friend Joseph say? What did this man and woman look like?
The man must have been 30 years old, about 5'7", light complexion, and a fair moustache. He wore a loose, dark jacket, a grey cap, and a red scarf around his neck. But he said that he only saw him for a brief instant, and it would be impossible to recognize him.
And the woman?
He only saw her from behind. She had her hand on the man's stomach and seemed to be pushing him. He said that he remembered that she was small, was wearing a black jacket and a black bonnet. After his testimony, the police took him to see the clothing of the deceased, and Joseph said that they looked identical to those of the woman he had seen. Like I already said, he only glanced at the 2, as he was headed with the others in the direction of Aldgate.
One final question. The Imperial Club is a Jewish club, isn't that correct?
Indeed.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Solomonovich.
Bah, it was nothing. We must at all cost prevent this demon from striking again, and the police seem to have some difficulty in doing that. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Holmes.
Interesting. At one point, he said that the man was only 3 inches taller and she was only 5 foot. Well, would make the man, 5'3"? And then he said the man was 5'7".
Closed.
Is that kind of curious? Well, let's go back this way. There was 2 exits. This was one. Let's go down the other one. Hustle up, Watson.
This is Mitre Street, from where Watkins, the constable who found the body, came. Nothing of interest here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at that map again. All right, so here's the synagogue, here's the church passage, and the Imperial Club. We need to get back down to Mitre Square. All right, so this is this the synagogue here? Great synagogue. There's the Imperial Club. And it looks like we can't go that way.
The Imperial Club. I have no reason to go that way.
I'm just checking, Holmes. Don't get snotty.
I have no reason to go that way.
Well, which way would you like to go then?
Nothing of interest here.
Huh. Right, I'm confused. I don't know where to go. So let's go back down this way. Oh, there's another passage.
This dark and narrow passage leads to St. James's Place. Well, let's find the spot where Edow's body was discovered. I have no reason to go that way.
Well, okay. So I guess we're looking for where the body was discovered. Where was that?
Nothing of interest here.
I'm really confused. I don't know which way to go. Oh, there it is.
Watson,
Okay.
we are now in the exact spot where poor Eddowes tragically ended her days.
This spot is very dark, Holmes.
That is probably why our murderer chose it.
Okay, well, let's look it over. Start the top again.
The head is turned towards the left. The murderer must have been on the right side of his victim. Let's look at her from the front.
Oh, Jesus. Ghastly. Holy smokes, did he cut her nose off?
The eyelids were cut off.
Oh, gross. Looks like he cut her nose off, too.
The nose was cut.
There's cuts on her cheeks.
The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. There is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the right side.
Okay, what have I got over here? Well, this looks like she's got... Gosh, what is this?
These intestines were pulled out altogether to grant access to the abdomen.
Geez, that's just gross.
The main incision goes from the sternum all the way down to the groin. The murderer opened this abdomen as if it were an animal carcass. A kidney was removed. The uterus was removed.
And she had something in her hand, just like the rest of them. Is it a thimble?
A thimble is located right beside one of the victim's hands, just like Chapman's sachet of pills and Stride's pastils.
All right.
Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly. The inside of the thighs is clean. Once again, there were no sexual relations between the victim and her murderer.
Well, that's good to know. Is this the apron he spoke of right here?
Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly.
Okay, so here?
Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly.
Okay, what's this stuff here?
Do these objects spread out by the victim remind us of anything, Watson?
Yeah, the comb.
My
combs?
goodness, Holmes, it was a slaughter.
Understand, Watson, that our killer had neither the time nor the conditions to bother with the niceties. He had no more than 7 or 8 minutes at most to kill the woman, open her up, and all the while in total darkness.
Holmes, it's a woman, a poor victim you're talking about.
Consider all the time this man lost and the risks that he actually took by cutting the victim's face and the lower abdomen in around 20 precise spots, especially the lungs and the liver. These attacks, which I considered gratuitous, are in fact nothing of the sort and have as much sense as the removal of the organs. Watson, we must now consult our timeline. We began in Dutfield's yard, but this time we will try to recreate the actions of certain people, in this case those of the 2 policemen.
All right. So 1:30, PC Watson enters the Mitre Square. At 1:30.
1:30 a.m. PC Watkins didn't see the corpse while on his rounds. If PC Watkins did his rounds properly, and there is no reason to doubt this was the case, as he discovered the corpse a quarter of an hour later, the murder hadn't yet taken place, and there was no one in Mitre Square, unless they were hidden among the shadows. Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
All right, so we're controlling Dr. Watson. Is that over here? All right, now the murder was where? Back in the dark. There's a lamp there.
Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
Okay, so here we are. Now, we're going to enter the square. And we stop.
I see you, Holmes.
Perfect, Watson. Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Okay, so here's the timeline. The murder hadn't yet taken place at 1:30 a.m. All right, let's take this and put it at 1:30.
Very good, Watson. Thus we can categorically state that the murder had not yet occurred at 1:30.
Okay, then we have 1:35, a man and a woman. Let's put that at 1:35.
1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are arguing at the entrance of Church Passage. The man came from Aldgate.
All right, so then PC Harvey arrives at 1:42.
1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives in Mitre Square. It should be noted, Watson, that the constable didn't enter Mitre Square. He could not have seen the corpse lying on the ground. But would he have been able to see a man sitting or standing? Go to the Church Passage entrance, then come back and try to see me while holding your lantern. I will stay at the spot where the victim was discovered.
Okay, so which way would this be?
I see you, Holmes.
You had to proceed into the square in order to see me, something Harvey didn't do. It is possible that the killer was still there. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square, but does not go in. The murderer may well have still been there.
Okay. So, let's take this guy and put him up at 144.
1:44 a.m. The body is discovered. Let's put the murder of poor Eddowes on the timeline, Watson.
Okay, so it had to be in here someplace. Nope.
One 1:35 and 1:42 a.m. The murder would appear to have taken place between these times, that is to say, within 7 minutes.
Agreed, Holmes. But does this really prove that our killer had the time to perpetrate these two murders?
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Okay, Sherlock and Watson took 20 minutes to go to and from Dutfield's yard to Meteor Square.
There, Watson, we are now certain that the murderer really had the time to commit these two murders.
Incredible!
Let's look at our deduction board, Watson.
All right, I'm going to take a break here before we go into the deduction phase of this murder. Hope you had fun. Hope to see you in the next episode. Ta-ta for now.